Well, you're welcome to that moment where we give you latest happenings as far as sports is concerned. And on the show today, we shall be taking a look at happenings from the world of tennis. The Grand Slam tournament in France is on. It is the French Open. But we start with football. It's all about business. It is always huge. It is big money. And the Premier League can never be left out when we take a look at the business side of sport. And the reward for finishing as champions for Manchester City, the team from the Etihad Stadium, is estimated to be in the region of £159 million. This indeed is one huge factor for Manchester City as they look forward to another summer transfer business. From the Premier League alone, with the total including sponsorship bonuses, TV money, and payments, bringing the figure closer to about 186 million US dollars. The difference extends down the table, but while the gap per position are relatively minor, and that's why bottom teams can also compete with leaders at the table when it comes to transfer activity. For example, fifth place or fourth place is only separated by 2.2 million pounds, about 2.7 million US dollars in Premier League prize money. But the drop off between qualifying for the Champions League and not is over 10 times that amount based on the revenue streams. And you have it on your screen for Manchester City. You're taking a look at the Premier League prize money without data of sponsorship and other figures alone. You have about 54.4 million US dollars, about 44.1 million pounds. For Arsenal, it's 41.8 million pounds, about 51.7 million US dollars. Third is Manchester United, 39.3. That fourth position, you have Newcastle United, 37.4 million pounds, about 46.3 million US dollars. And definitely we'll be talking to a football consultant in London to indeed take a look at the figures, the business side of the Premier League. For bottom rock team, Southampton at the just concluded season. In total, they got over 100 million US pounds despite being relegated. And if the champions are getting about 156 to 159 million pounds, and the relegated team is getting about 100 million pounds, then indeed it's time to indeed focus on the business side of football, this time the Premier League. Segun Jegede is a football consultant. He joins the show from London as we take a look at the just concluded Premier League season and the business side of the Premier League. Segun Jegede, it's nice to have you on the program Sports Desk.
Thanks for having me. Can you hear me loud and clear, Ian?
Well, Segun, let's indeed take a look at the just concluded season. It is often said, and some may want to debate it, that the Premier League is arguably the biggest league in the world. But when we take a look at figures, it's not far-fetched. If the champions are getting 156 million pounds and a relegated team in last position is getting about 100 million pounds, then we're talking about 2.7 billion pounds in total package, for the teams in the just concluded Premier League season. Segun.
Yes. Can you hear me loud and clear?
You're very clear. I can hear you, Segun.
Thanks for having me on the show. The Premier League is a very, very planned and structured business venture, which started in around 1992. And you see a lot of, they've actually made a lot of significant improvements from the early days up until now, where you have incomes coming from television revenues, from sponsorship, from adverts, from a whole lot of things. They stream it to all parts of the world, from Africa to North America to Asia and to all parts of the world. So every year people actually lobby and bid to have the Premier League shown on their screens. And so it's a venture whereby it's well thought, well planned. They bring in referees, they bring in sponsorship. The footballers get the incomes flow to the footballers through their clubs. So it's a big mega business venture once again.
Well, Fabi, Segun, you made mention of 1990 when it was coined to the English Premier League. And between that moment and now, we've seen a lot of followership for some of these club sides. Let's take a look at Manchester United, for example. And in Asia, Manchester United is well followed by millions of football fans. And when you take a look at the branding of this football club, what does it say compared to other leagues in Europe? And if you want to take a look at leagues like Africa.
Did you say, did you speak about branding? You sort of blurred there. I didn't hear you properly.
The value attached to these clubs beyond
Yes.
the English soil, beyond England, Scotland, and other places. When you take a look at South America, Asia, Africa, they have a lot of followership. And not just followership in England alone, you're talking about sponsorship and so more. What does this say when we'll take a look at what the Premier League is enjoying today and what the top clubs are enjoying in terms of success, and you compare to Africa and other parts of the world?
Okay. That's a very interesting analogy you've made. The problem is, okay, I'll talk about the positive side of things. When you look at the positive side of things, like I said earlier on, the Premiership is well structured. They've been able to attract sponsorship. You can only attract sponsorship, multiple streams of income, if you have a good structure on ground. There's professionalism, and you begin to build. The issue with other countries, or what I can say, what other countries need to emulate, or other continents such as Africa is, I'll give Nigeria as an instance. We need to have something in place whereby there's division of labor. You put round holes, you put round pegs in round holes, square pegs in round in square pegs, round holes where you. Well, I'm just trying to say you do the things appropriately. Now in Africa, we need the structure. We need good administrators to come on board and do what is right for the growth and the significant structural adjustment policies for football and for sports indeed. So in the UK, for instance, when you look at the growth of the Premier League, you look at, as the Premier League is growing, it's carrying along clubs. Clubs are growing. They're having multiple income streams. They're playing in the Champions League. The Champions League has a lot of income as well. They have sponsorship. So the key thing is, if you do the right thing, you get the right answer. Like I always say, Abuja wasn't built in a day, because we're Africans and we're Nigerians, so we can use that analogy. So we have to start from somewhere. African countries need to start doing things properly. We have a lot of resources. We have a lot of fantastic footballers. Look at the footballers that have come out from Africa. We have, let's go to places like Cameroon. You have Samuel Eto'o, look at Nigeria, JJ Okocha, Kanu Nwankwo, Ndidi, Peter Odewingie. We can go on, and so we can go on forever and name all these players. But we look at it that, how is it possible that a footballer will be in an African country, say for instance Nigeria, one season he doesn't have a value, and the next season he moves abroad, within 2-3 seasons is what, £2 million. It's what you call added value. How do you add value to your structure in place, to your clubs, to your footballers? How do you empower human beings? How do you put the resources at hand to come on board and hit the ground running, and you empower everybody? You empower the coaches, you empower the football clubs, you empower the structures, the footballers, the families, the nation as a whole. Back in the 80s, Nigeria was a big nation in terms of people who actually go to stadiums en masse. in tens of thousands of people will go. But right now, everything has gone down. You look at where have we got things wrong? It's the structure. It's finding the right people to do the right things.
Segun, let me interject here and let's take a look at the prize money for the just concluded season. And it is also evident that the way the prize money is being shared in England is different from other countries like La Liga, the Serie A, and indeed the Bundesliga. For example, we've seen teams in La Liga talk about the fact that what teams like Real Madrid and Barcelona get from the TV rights is huge compared to other clubs in La Liga. But the Premier League is a bit different when we take a look at the sharing formula. And some say this is the reason why even teams in 19th, 18th, 16th, or 10th position can compete in the transfer window with teams who are up there.
Yes, that's a valid point you've made there. So there's a big gap in the La Liga, for example. The top two, top three gets a significant share of the money, which is why it's always hard for the other clubs to compete against it. But in the Premiership, the sort of the difference is not that much. It's not big. So how clubs generate more income? Clubs like the Arsenals, the Chelseas, even though they're spending a lot of money, they use their brand and their image to a club like Arsenal, for instance, they've got different brands. They've got Visit Rwanda. They've got a whole lot of different brands sponsoring them. So a club like Arsenal will attract more brand or bigger brands that will spend more money on them, like the lower clubs in town. When I say lower clubs, I mean clubs that are down the table, like from like the 10th to the 20th, like the ones that have gotten relegated. So it's about the name, the impact they have on the community, their history, their culture. That is a significant thing, and that is paramount to what they are able to give to the fans. But however, the Premier League have a structure in place. When you look at it, when a club goes down to the Championship, they almost spring back almost immediately. Have you ever thought of why they're able to do that? It's because of the prize money. They still get a significant amount of money, so that will help them in the Championship to spring back up. But however, the Premiership can still do better as well, because while we're talking about leagues like the La Liga, we have the top two, top three clubs having the significant share of the prize money for TV rights and so on and so forth. In the Premier League as well, it's only about the Premier League. You know, Championship don't get enough money as well, and there's a debate about this. League One, League Two, and so on and so forth. So things can still be better, but so far so good. The Premiership is still the best in the world in terms of generating income, making money, and using TV rights and a whole lot of ways to help clubs. So they're fair in that perspective, where you can compete in the Premier League. That's where you can see sometimes clubs they're playing against each other at the top end of the league, and then they go and play against the bottom of the league, and they can't even win the matches because they can still compete. They can still buy players for tens of millions of pounds. So that is the key to it. There's a way, the sharing formula is fairer than other countries, I must say. Within the Premier League, the top team, the top tier of the pyramid of the league system in England.
Shago, before I let you go, there is talks of Harry Kane. We'll also take a look at the transfer activity now. There are talks from Real Madrid, and Harry Kane also wanted by Manchester United. We don't know how realistic this is at the moment. But before we take a look at Harry Kane, in 60 seconds, are there fears with the coming in of foreign investors into teams in the Premier League? I know the Bundesliga is a bit different. The fans have a lot of say when it comes to their football clubs. But in England today, we're seeing clubs like Everton Football Club, Liverpool Football Club, Manchester United Football Club. We're seeing the Americans, the Saudi Arabians, indeed, pouring a lot of money, to buy these clubs. Are there fears?
So sorry, what was your last question? I didn't hear the last sentence. Could you repeat
So
that
we're
again,
looking at
please?
foreign investments, in the English
Yes.
Premier League. Are there fears, concerning the future of this club sides? Where
Okay.
we take a look at
Well,
debts incurred, by these clubs, and then also the fact that when businessmen come into these clubs, what they want is make money. They focused on profits making and all that. And there is also, the high ticket prize money and all that for the football fans. What are the fears going forward?
well, I mean, when you look at business model of, it comes with the territory. A lot of the money in the Premier League comes from foreign sponsorship and foreign people that want to sort of invest. So when the TV rights are coming from different places like Africa, Asia, North America, it's only a matter of time before foreigners, in terms of the ownership of the clubs, start coming. A lot of the clubs are already owned by foreigners, but there are policies in place to sort of make sure that things are done properly. Look at clubs like Arsenal, look at Manchester United, look at all these other clubs. Look at Chelsea, they're owned by foreigners. So more foreigners will want to come in because there's a competition there. People can see the Premier League has been attractive to them to sort of invest their money, and they can get, if you invest your money in a Premiership club within 2, 3, 5, 10 years, your money can double in terms of investment of what you've put in and what you can get out. So there will be fares in some sectors, but you have to understand what economic growth is all about. And from the local people as well. So that's how this whole thing works. But however, things have been put in place. The policies are in place to make sure that foreign.
Well, we've been talking to Segun Jegede, a football consultant. Many thanks for indeed joining us on the show all the way from London.